Well, looks like I'm solo tonight, and as always, I do not own the rights to this music.
Here locally in the community. Make sure y'all go check out Kneecap Body by Jeremy Smokin.
All right, it is Kneecap Biting with Smokin Jeremy B. This is the NFL Roundtable Talks. Unfortunately, none of James Burgess, you cracked me up. +1 to you. NFL Roundtable Talks. Unfortunately, none of my guests have showed up, so I'm going to run it solo. So this will probably be a really fast show. James Burgess says Jeremy is using music he doesn't own the rights to. I'm telling Mom, go right ahead. Narc. Snitches get stitches, boy. That being said, oh, here we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I don't know what happened earlier, but it's good to see you.
Yeah, my other headphones weren't working.
Oh, okay.
So
Ken Ballrick comes in and says, "What's up, kiddo?" That's my dad there. And also, James Burgess says, "Damn right they do." That being said, I want to get into a little bit of NFL news and also show I am at 169 subscribers. Please subscribe, like, and share. Most surprising top teams in the NFL. Who's the most surprising to you right now?
So far this year?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of said it in the chat earlier, but I think Jacksonville.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Dolphins being 3-0 is a bit of a surprise too.
Yeah, it's a surprise they beat Buffalo, but I guess you could say it's a surprise they beat Baltimore too. But I kind of had them 50-50 with the Ravens, and then I knew they would beat the Patriots. But I thought Buffalo would win that game, and honestly, like if you look at the stats in that game in the box score, Buffalo dominated that. Like time of possession, total yards. The only thing Miami won was the scoreboard, which that's the one that matters. But
he goes, "Where are you to be outside and old? LOL." Good evening, Elizabeth. James Burgess says his surprise one is the Eagles, and the Eagles are way better than I thought. Miami, my second. I had Miami as a possible playoff team when I did my Pick Ems for the division earlier this year. But the Eagles, I said, was winning this division, and so far it looks like their only competition right now is Dallas. Giants might give them a run, but I think the Giants inevitably won't be able to keep up with the talent on their defense.
I will say this. The one thing that surprised me in that division, though, is Dallas's defense is pretty good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was kind of the one thing they didn't have the last 2 years. Their defense was kind of, I wouldn't say, I was kind of holding them back, honestly. Because their offense I think their offense led the league in scoring last year. But their defense hasn't been great.
I didn't expect the Browns and Ravens to be leading the division of the AFC North. Not right off the bat. I expected the Ravens to be there, but not the Browns.
Okay, the Browns doesn't surprise. If you would have, if the Browns doesn't really surprise me just because of who they played.
Fair enough. And in the NFC,
Because
I mean, the Eagles
they
being
played.
3-0, I mean, they're outscoring opponents 86-50. The only team that put up any points against them has been Detroit.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's
Washington basically didn't put up anything through 3 quarters.
and neither did Minnesota. They only put up a touchdown.
Yeah, which Minnesota still ended up with 28. I think what Washington scored like 13. I think.
Well, let's see. 35 for us, 8 points. 8 points is what they
Like
put
eight.
up.
Yeah. I know them in Philly or them in Minnesota didn't score a lot because Minnesota only scored 7, and then I think they yeah
Rams
because I
atop
think
the NFC West is not a surprise at this point, but
no, especially the way Trey Lance is playing the first few weeks, that's not a surprise. And Arizona's they're I don't know, I don't like their coach, and they lost a lot on defense. They lost Chandler Jones, and their defense
yeah,
wasn't that great anyway. But
I had the Cardinals and Seahawks battling for last in the division, anyways, for NFC West. I just saw Cardinals kind of overachieve last year.
yeah,
And Stephen King says, "What's up, guys? Raiders being the only 0-3 team is a bit of a surprise to me. That is to me too, and I was going to get to that." And
yeah. First thing
Zakwa says the
surprised to me
Bears
that
are the
that's
worst
losing.
2-1 team I've ever seen. I
No,
agree.
I don't know. I'll tell you this right now, though. The Denver Broncos aren't far behind.
Right, the Denver Broncos, the Chicago Bears, uh,
Because I told
Jacksonville
you before
Jaguars
we
is a
started this.
surprise 2-1, but they've actually played decent
I'll
teams and won.
I'll tell you who's kind of surprised how bad they've been. Tennessee.
Yeah, I expected them to come back with Derrick Henry and be gangbusters, and so far you haven't seen it.
Because they started the year 0-2 and they could have lost to the Raiders. They were the Raiders and then were kind of back and forth, so they could be 0-3.
I mean, right now, the only other winless team is the Texans, but I expected that.
Yeah, I said the Texans be lucky if they win 3 games at the beginning of the year.
The fact they got a tie with the Colts to start the
I
season
th-
cracks
yeah,
me up.
I think the Texans will be drafting either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, #1 overall.
Ben Smith says, "What's up?" Another Patriots fan, if I remember right. Tyler Sullivan, sup JB? Been a while since I've tuned in. I had to create a new YouTube. How you been? I am doing real well, Tyler. Thank you. Good to see you back. That is, he used to come on to We Are Lions Nation under Bolt Fan 44. He's a San Diego fan, and that's my next subject is surprise bottom dwellers. Uh, the Texans is no surprise. The Bengals being at the bottom of the AFC North surprises me. I mean, they revamped the O line supposedly, and it hasn't worked out too well yet. Raiders being 0-3,
Yeah,
that was a surprise to me. And the
yeah, they're probably
Patriots being
the
at the
biggest.
bottom.
They're probably the biggest surprise, the Raiders, because they haven't won a game.
And in
What?
the
Who's the only other? The Texans and them are the only winless teams, right?
yeah, the Texans and Raiders are the only winless teams.
Yeah.
Yep, surprise bottom dwellers, Cincy and LVR. Absolutely, I agree. I mean, I didn't expect Cincy to struggle that much offensively to start, but it's been quite woeful there. I mean, the first 2 weeks there was
Yeah.
25 pressures on Joe Burrow, 22 QB hits, and
Granted,
13 sacks.
granted, the Bengals. I've always noticed this watching them. They never double anybody, and they went against Micah Parsons and T.J. Watt. They're not going to see that all year, like every game. Like, yeah, they'll have to play T.J. Watt maybe later in the year when he comes back from injury. But when they play Baltimore and even Miami tomorrow, they're not going to have a T.J. Watt or a Micah Parsons on the field. The Bengals always have struggled with guys like that,
Yeah.
the top end pass rushers, because they never double team anybody. They always single.
Josh McDaniels is going to run back to New England, possibly as soon as he gets fired. He keeps going at this rate.
They're already talking about firing them.
I know. Zakwa brings up a
After
great point.
0-3.
Receptions through 3 weeks. Cooper Kupp, 28. Stephon Diggs, 27. Marquise Brown, 24. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 23. And the whole Chicago Bears wide receiver room, 23 receptions through 3 weeks.
Hey, here's a trivia question without looking it up. Who do you guys think is leading the Raiders in receiving yards?
God, I can't think of his name. It's not Bateman either.
Bateman's on Baltimore.
Oh, wait. Who are you talking about? The Raiders? Oh, Devontae
Raiders.
Adams.
Nope.
Devontae Adams.
Nope.
No? Hunter Renfrow?
Nope.
Who is it?
They're not even top two. Darren Waller's second.
Wow.
I'll tell you who their number one leading receiver in terms of yards is Mac Hollins.
Wow.
That tells you right there it's bad coaching.
Right. Okay,
when you got Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, and Devontae Adams on your team, Mac Hollins should not be your number one leading receiver.
Right. And Tyler Sandak says, Chargers injuries piling up, not looking good for my team. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, your DN Bosa just went in for possibly season-ending surgery.
I seen he went on the IR.
Yeah, he's having surgery.
Yeah.
That's a bad break.
At least they still got what's his name though. Khalil Mack.
Yeah. They got one of their thumpers. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and James Burgess says not Renfro. Wowzers, Mac Hollins. Okay, there's a stumper. Absolutely. I would have thought it would have been Adams the way he played the first week.
Yeah, that's why it was a good trivia question, because nobody knows who
Great
the fuck
trivia.
That's why nobody knows who the fuck Mac Hollins is.
Exactly. Great question. In the NFC, in the bottom, we have my lowly Lions. In that loss, I'm putting it 100% on Amani Oruwariye, because a lot of those knee-jerk, stupid calls wouldn't have been made if he wouldn't have gave up 14 points with the extended drives he gave to Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 10 penalties and 7 of them accepted. He had all 7 penalties that the Lions got for 59 yards. And that was 7 of their first downs. Their earned first downs was exactly the same as Detroit, 23. So all in all, offensively, we put up more passing yards. We put up more rushing yards. And we did decent getting points. The problem is when you got a guy that's giving penalty after penalty, giving first down after first down, you can't recover from that fast enough, which keeps the defense on there longer. It gets them gassed, and then they play poorly later on when they're close to the goal line. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah. Well, like I said, they outgained them in yards too because of the penalties.
No, we outgained them by almost 100 yards.
That's what I'm saying.
Even
You guys outgained them too because of penalties. Unless they had more penalty yards than you did.
Nope, they had 5 penalties for 40, so it was a 39-yard
okay. You guys
differential.
You guys had 40, basically 40 more penalty yards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which killed us.
That's where
40 more penalty yards and all 7 of them free first downs. You can't recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they lead to touchdowns. If they'd have led to field goals, that's a different story, but they led to touchdowns.
Yeah, wasn't it, what was it, 28-24, right?
Yeah, 28-24 was the final. with
Yeah.
those 2 drives extended the way they were.
So that guy you're talking about, he's a corner, right?
Yeah, he was our corner
Okay.
that played like a top 10 corner last year.
He's the one that had like 6 interceptions, right?
6 interceptions, 7 pass breakups, QBR against under 80.
I seen what's his name's doing pretty good though so far.
And I called that. Remember, I talking to you in the preseason. I said Jeff Okuda will come back and be fine.
Yeah, he's doing good so far.
I mean,
Hopefully he could stay
he's
healthy.
given up, let's see, 2, 2, and 3, a total of 7 receptions for 53 yards
Yeah.
and no touchdowns. That's huge. All right, Killa
Yeah.
Cook comes in and goes, I get the fault was on Amanio, but why didn't they sit him? Who are they going to put in? Will Harris? Mike Hughes? He didn't do any good against KJ Osborne. No, the problem is when a cornerback feels like he's beat, he gets handsy, and that's when he starts holding on to jerseys and doing pass interference. And he felt like he was beat the whole game, and he technically was. And the one play he actually played it right, Thielen was pushing for a flag.
So wait, do the Lions play a lot of man coverage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we play a lot of man until we go to that prevent when we're up big. But it was mostly man this time because they didn't want to do that prevent zone because it didn't work the week before and it let Washington get back in the game.
Because I noticed a lot of teams have been playing a lot of the trend around the league mostly has been a lot of teams have been playing zone this year. Could not give up the big plays. Because if you notice, the scoring's been down this year.
Ben Smith asked my thoughts on the Lions season so far. Offensively, they are just as good as I thought they'd be. They're number 2 for offensive scoring in the league. And technically, if you take away everybody's defensive touchdowns, they're number 1. Because our defense has only scored 2 points on a safety. So we have 93 points total right now on offense.
So that's 31 a game.
Yeah, that's a pretty damn good average.
So who's number 1? Is it Philly? Or
No, the Ravens are the number 1 scoring offense total right now.
Oh.
When they add in the defensive, it's 99 points so far this season.
Okay. Yeah. I was about to say they have.
Unfortunately,
They
they couldn't start Lucas because Lucas was hurt the last game. He got hurt at the end of the Commanders game. So Lucas couldn't play. Mike Hughes, he's not a 2. He's a slot corner. He's one of the better slot corners, but when you put him on a 2, he's toast. Here's the thing. There was only 5 passes to Justin Jefferson. 2 of them were incomplete. And 3 completions for 14 yards in that game with Jeff Okuda covering him in man coverage. And then Killa Cook goes, damn it. Shit, that's right. And Kirby is a safety. And he hasn't done much either. Players who haven't done much that's played a lot of snaps. 78% of the defensive snaps has been played by Michael Brockers. He has 2 tackles and an assisted tackle after 3 games. He is about the equivalent of a bump on the log on the defense.
So I want to ask you this. How has Hutchinson been playing?
Hutchinson did really good. He got lots of pressures in that first game, which everybody's like, well, pressures don't mean nothing. I said, well, when you force a quarterback to roll out and go into the RPO thing, that's huge.
Yeah. So he's had a pretty good start through the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's got 3 sacks. He's got 10 tackles so far, 2 tackles for loss. And right now, he's one of the league leaders in total pressures. And the Lions actually are number 2 in pressures in the whole NFL right now.
And my other question is,
that's huge.
How much does Josh Pascal play?
Josh Pascal hasn't played yet because he's still recovering from his sports hernia surgery back in June. He's expected to be back around week 4, week 5. So maybe this week, if not next week.
Okay.
Which we need him because that'll be who replaces Brockers as a starter as far as I'm concerned.
Who's on the other side? Romeo Okwara or?
Romeo Okwara is still recovering from last year's
Okay.
surgery. They said he's recovering at a snail's pace. They don't know when to expect him back. They're hoping by mid-season. So you're talking like week 8 or 9.
Okay. So who's in that other defensive end spot?
Right now we got Michael Brockers,
Okay, Michael
Austin
Brockers.
Bryant, Julian Aquara, Charles Harris. All those guys platoon that opposite
Okay.
D end or the
And
opposite
then
linebacker
who?
position.
And then who plays inside?
Inside is Lee McNeil, Isaiah Buggs. Comiskey was out, but he's actually been quite surprisingly well.
So is McNeil the best guy inside, or?
He's the guy we picked early last year, the big
Yeah, I know
athletic
he is.
tackle, D tackle.
North Carolina State, I believe.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he was at one time a running back and a very damn good one. So he's got some speed, and he's got the size. He's learning how to use his size more at the NFL, and he's been playing well.
Okay.
And long arms, strong, can push the pile. He's been moving guys. He's been eating up blocks. The problem is Hutch has been on the same side as Brockers, and Brockers is supposed to be a block eater, and he's not doing it.
How's that?
Anzalone's been playing well. Kirby Joseph really hasn't played much because he still hasn't quite got the grasp of the NFL game. But with Walker being out, I think we're going to see more of him. And Ifeatu Melifonwu returned to practice this week. So that'll be good because they moved him to safety with Deshaun Elliott.
Yeah, I was going to say, has he been playing good?
He's been playing decent. I mean, he's a great tackler. I mean, 100%. One of the best tacklers on the team. He's a liability kind of in coverage, which is why they've been rotating him in and out on the coverage plays.
So have the Lions been using a lot of 3 safeties in?
No, we haven't used him yet because Kirby's still developing, and Iffy's been hurt, but Iffy is slated as a safety now. And when you got a 6'4", 4'4", 214-pound safety, that's huge. Gun Guy says, must win this week. I agree. That's the only thing that worries me about tall, fast safeties is they tend to get hurt. Look at Kyle Hamilton and what happened in Notre Dame. He got hurt. There's lots of those tall, big safeties that are fast.
The difference is he's not fast.
Yeah, he's not fast at all, but he looked fast on paper, and it's more because of his height and his length than his actual speed.
Yeah, because he only ran like 4.7.
Yeah, he ran a 4.7 40. Poor guy.
Which is like linebacker speed.
Bad linebacker speed. Jelani Tavai speed.
Hey, don't mention Jelani Patricia.
Hey, how do you like the Matt Patricia ran offense there in New England?
See, I don't even think it's like schemed up. I think they're just like Madden. They're just calling like, "Hey, I like this play."
Right. Exactly. I said it in my. You noticed I've been published lately, and I said in my review of Okuda, I feel sorry for New England because Matt Patricia couldn't develop players with his coaching staff. How do they expect him to develop an offensive game plan?
Yeah, I don't think anything's schemed up. I think it's literally Matt Patricia likes this play. Mac Jones likes this play. We're running this play. I don't think it's like a scheme thing. I think it's just, hey, we like this play. It's like Madden. Hey, I like the, the little digger out. Let's run it. Or I like this. That's what it is.
So let's get to a little of the news around the league. Myles Garrett had a car accident on Monday or Tuesday morning, one of the two, and he's expected to miss some time. Nick Bosa is undergoing possibly season-ending surgery. Man, Justin Herbert did not look good trying to play with those sore ribs. That rib cartilage tear he's got.
I'll know though. He had a pretty amazing throw on one play though. That was pretty sweet.
I mean, yeah, it was. He was able to tough through it and get one great throw out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I saw. I mean, other than that, Jacksonville housed him.
Yeah, that's
Trevor Lawrence finally shored up.
That's been the surprise about Jacksonville. I knew their offense was going to be good, but their defenses came to play so far. That's what surprised me.
I told you that defense is kind of scary.
You actually know this. I didn't know this. Jacksonville has the #1 run defense in the NFL right now. #1 rush
Yep.
defense.
And what's funny is if we could have contained the duo of Adrian Peterson and Madison by 30 less yards, we'd be tied with them. We're like third or fourth right now on run defense. It isn't as bad as everybody thinks. I mean, the only bad game was the Eagles.
So you guys are getting killed against the pass then?
It's been this last week was the pass.
Okay.
It is a rib cartilage tear, is what it is that he suffered in that game 2 weeks ago now, right? Wasn't that when it happened against the Chiefs?
Yeah. Yeah, Herbert.
Because he took that big hit by the linebacker that damn near folded him in half.
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, that was a rib cartilage. Pretty much.
Luckily, they said there was no broken bones, but every time it only hurts when you breathe.
You know what I thought?
Old
was funny,
saying, when your ribs hurt.
You know what was funny though? Is as soon as that happened, they said, "Oh yeah, Justin Herbert has the same injury as Tyrod Taylor." Then like the next day, they announced, "Oh, Tyrod Taylor is suing that doctor."
He should.
It's like, okay, this comes out now, like the day after Herbert has the injury. It's just kind of odd timing.
Yeah, very odd timing. I mean, but that's because the smart thing is Herbert said, "Hell no, you're not trying to fix this," because of what happened to Tyrod Taylor, because that's how he got the starting job. Because that guy tried to fix it there in the locker room.
Which I don't know what the hell.
He punctured his lung.
Which I don't know what the hell Anthony Lynn was watching in practice between Justin Herbert and Tyrod Taylor.
And that's the other thing. Their big one is Rashad Slater out for the season.
Yeah,
with torn biceps.
Yeah,
that was the biggest blow to that team they had.
Yeah, that's a big loss.
Yeah, because of him being out right now, the best right tackle in the league, and it's hands down. It's not even close when you look at the rankings and the ratings. The best right tackle in the league is Penei Sewell.
Yeah, Slater's like...
Because the next right tackle, and he's listed 5th overall out of all tackles. Right now, Decker is 13th for left tackles and 22nd overall, which isn't horrible, but it's not great. But Sewell being the first right tackle and 5th overall, that means he's just as good.
Yeah,
and
that dude's animal.
Yeah, Slater's an animal, and I think he'd be right up there with Sewell. It'd be 1A, 1B. Because they have been ranking about the same this year.
I was kind of surprised how good he is, because I thought he was a little undersized.
He is undersized, but he uses his quick feet and his strength to make up for it.
Yeah, because he's only like 305, 300. He's right around that.
James Burgess says, Sewell, thanks for the gift 2021 draft. I still remember when I posted, I think that's when we first started talking, was during that draft in one of the chat rooms. And I posted who I thought was going to go where. And the only question mark was San Francisco at 3 because they traded up. We knew they were taking a quarterback. It was which one? Yeah. And I said Jones or Lance, but the way it's sounding, Lynch wants Lance. I bet you Lynch wins.
See, I didn't think either. I thought they were going to go Justin Fields.
No, I had all sorts of articles from San Francisco that was saying that those were the two choices.
Yeah, I thought they were.
And Dan Laundrie says.
Yeah, but you know how they were saying all that stuff? I thought they were just trying to get everybody else to think they were doing that. So nobody would trade up for their guy.
I knew that Joe Burrow was pounding the table in the Bengals war room prior to the draft saying, draft me Jamar Chase. They did. Tua was banging the table for Jalen Waddle, even though he still hadn't ran anything with that broken ankle yet. And so far, it's worked out for him.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, right there in our laps comes Sewell.
Yeah, who went? Oh, Kyle Pitts. He went to Atlanta 4th.
He went 4th. Yep. First was Joe. First was.
No, first wasn't Burrow. First was Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, Trevor Lawrence to the Jags.
Then Zach Wilson, then Trey
Wilson
Lance.
to the Jets. Yep. And
and
Zach
then
Wilson is
Pick
actually due
Ems.
back this week. That's the other big news I saw
Yeah,
that he
I seen
cleared and
that.
he's
Yeah,
going to play. And
it's
that's
Joe
good for
Flacco.
them because Joe
Joe
Flacco
Flacco has been playing good though.
one game.
No,
One game.
I
That's
wouldn't
all
say.
I'm giving him credit for.
Yeah, he did light it up that one game, but he's still putting up 300 yards every game. I think he's put up
Um
300 yards in every game.
they
Because
announced
he has like
today on ESPN radio that if the hurricane hits prior to the Bucks Chiefs game, it will be moved to Minnesota.
really.
Yep.
That's a weird spot.
It's a domed stadium in cold weather, and those are both
Yeah.
semi-warm weather teams at this time of year.
Well, I wouldn't. Well, yeah, I guess this time of year. About to say Tampa's always warm, but Kansas City can get cold.
I hope Wilson does well for the Jets, Jets. You know why I want him to do well? Because I love that tagline that was created on that meme, throwing bombs and banging moms. Interesting fact, he went to Brigham Young University because their mascot is the Cougars. He was sorely depressed when he found out they meant the animal and not older women. I like to throw that. And Tyler Sandleck says, oh, okay. And James Burgess says Ford Field has hosted a neutral site game a few years back. Yes, that was Minnesota versus Green Bay when their dome collapsed, which was why they were able to finally get away from the HHH. And James Burgess gives me a bunch of LOLs and said, thanks for that, Jeremy. About the throwing bombs and banging moms and the Brigham Young stuff. I want to get a signed helmet by him, and I want it inscribed "Throwing bombs and banging moms." I really do truly do want that as one of my personal collection pieces because I'd never get rid of that just because it's hilarious.
The Jets Alliance play this year.
Yeah. The two New York teams we play at their stadium, and that stadium scares me actually more than either defense.
Yeah.
He said that would be a serious piece to keep. Yes, it would. Well, I already have a Justin Jefferson. I have a Barry Sanders. I have an Amon-Ra St. Brown. I have a Charles Harris. I have, what else do I have? A Cam Akers, James Robinson III, and Darius Leonard is my mini helmet collection so far.
Wow, you took a Vikings?
Hey, I'll take a Justin Jefferson. I think he's a top 3 wide receiver in the league. Overall, for talent level.
But you wouldn't take Devontae Adams on Green Bay.
If I'd have won one, I'd have took it. I got him through breaks through one of my sponsors, Mad Lab Custom Creations. He was formerly of LDA Breaks, and I've gotten some really sick shit out of there.
So would you have done it if it was Aaron Rodgers?
I would probably burn it. Karen Rodgers irks me to no end. It would be a fire fest right here on the podcast.
So he's the only Packer you despite.
Him, BJ Raji, because secretly he was just as dirty as Ndamukong Suh when he played the Lions. Bakhtiari, because of that fake show he did on Trey Flowers to get the 2 hands to the face calls when his hand was on the shoulder. Those 3 guys.
That's another thing. When's he coming back? He hasn't played in like a year.
He's supposedly coming back soon. I think he was on the PUP list, which means he's not available till after week 4.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, he's just hard to like Favre until the last crap had charisma, and he's absolutely right. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, there's a reason why he only made it 6 weeks on Jeopardy. He had the charisma of a stone. The only Viking helmet I want is Paul Krause, Ken Balrick says. And you know what? That is one I'd take too. I'd actually take any one of the 4 horsemen off of their D-line too. Alan Page and all those guys. Those guys were great.
What about that?
Dan Laundrie says LOL.
What was the defensive tackle that played back in the day? I can't think of his name.
Wasn't it Alan Page? Isn't that, or is he a DN?
No, this guy was like the guy that sticked his tongue out and shit.
John Randall.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of, John Randall.
Yeah, he was good through the late 90s, early 2000s, right?
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of, John Randall.
Yep.
I was young.
He was good.
During when he played. I was young.
Well, and then we're going to talk about last week. Lots of upsets last week. Led to my worst week in pick'em I've ever had, 3-13. Now with a record of 23-25 so far. Ugh. So that being said,
damn.
Yeah, that made it bad. I was doing good. I was treading water, and not so much.
And I thought mine was bad.
It's time for the weekly pick'ems. I know you got your sheet there with you, right?
Yeah, I can hold on. Actually, just tell me the games and I can tell you who I.
That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. All right, tonight's game is.
You mean tomorrow?
Miami at Cincinnati. I'm going with the homers because Jalen Waddle's out for this game.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he is.
And I heard Tua's out. Isn't he out too?
Tua may be out too.
Yeah, I've heard he's out.
James Burgess said Tarkenton I'd take too. I don't know about taking.
I gotta look on fantasy then if Jalen Waddle's out because I have him on one of my fantasy.
Yeah, you might want to. Oh, it's already too late.
No,
that game's starting
tomorrow.
Oh, it's Wednesday. Yeah, I think it's Thursday already.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
I'm taking Cincy in that game though.
I'm still taking Miami.
You're still taking Miami. Eric Sean says Cincy.
I think they'll zero blitz the Bengals and give that O-line problems.
As a matter of fact, will anybody ever top that? Paul Krause, as a safety, has a career interception record of 81 picks back when they were only playing 12 and 14 games. I don't think anyone will ever beat it because.
No, probably not. It's just like the Smith sack. It's just like the Bruce Smith sack record. As good as like some of these pass rushers in today's game, you have to play like 20 years.
Won't be beaten ever.
Yeah, I don't think Bruce Smith's sack record will be broke either.
Yep, that's another one. You talking about his career sack record, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody plays long enough.
That's what I'm saying. It's like 200.
Right. It's like nobody plays long enough to do that anymore.
Because if you get 100 sacks, you're pretty much you're like borderline Hall of Famer.
Right. Next up is Minnesota at New Orleans, with New Orleans losing to. Didn't they just lose to Atlanta?
No, they lost. No, the other team in the South, Carolina.
Oh, they lost to the Panthers. I think Minnesota can beat them. They have the more talented team, and they're playing well right now.
Yeah, I got Minnesota.
Cleveland at Atlanta was a toss-up for me. I didn't know who to take, so I went with the home crowd.
Not for me. Cleveland.
You're taking Cleveland?
Yeah.
And he says, I'm taking Dolphins. I'm a Melvin Ingram fan.
I've seen enough of Marcus Mariota.
James Burgess says Cleveland. Had 12 his rookie year, which has also never been broken. That's right. That he had one per game that year. His rookie year. An interception per game.
And when nobody didn't pass.
Right. That was back when nobody passed. Everybody ran the ball. To do that back then, you had to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, if you were averaging an interception per game and they didn't throw a lot.
Right. James Burgess agrees with you. He's taking Cleveland.
Either that or maybe they face Sam.
Krause got a lot of those versus my Lions. I wasn't alive. Well, I was alive for the tail end of his career, but not when he was.
Yeah.
And Dan Laundrie says, I missed most of the game because of working, but I was like, damn, they are up. Nice. And it was a decent lead in the third quarter. And then, damn, I got this and came back like an hour later to see they lost. Like, what the fuck?
Who was this?
My buddy Dan Laundrie up here in Bay City. He he was working the day of the Lions game. He was just checking the score periodically on his phone. He's like, all right, they're up by 10.
Oh, against Minnesota.
Yeah.
Wow.
Next up is Washington at Dallas. I think Dallas wins this
Dallas, yeah, I'll take Dallas. And
because
apparently, Dak might be back next week.
next week, not this week.
Yeah,
Right.
next week.
Amani's 10 penalties in one game per record probably won't be broken either. Oh, that's a good one. Next up, guys, I always save my team for last after we do the Monday night game. Next up is Tennessee at Indianapolis. Does Tennessee right the ship or does Indianapolis take it?
That's tough, actually. Because I think these two teams, unless Jacksonville keeps playing like they're playing, I had these two teams battling for division before the year.
So did I.
I'll take Indy since they're at home.
Yeah, that's what I did. Is I took Indy because they're at home.
Yeah.
And Eric Sean says unless he breaks his own record. James Burgess says I'll take the boys' defense and Indy. Chicago at New York Giants. It's in New York. I'm taking New York Giants.
Yeah, Giants.
Jacksonville at Philadelphia. This is a scary one for me because Jacksonville's playing well, but that defense is so stingy for the Eagles. I'm going to go Philadelphia because they're at home.
You know who I'm going with?
You're going to take Jacksonville?
That
Had a feeling.
number one run defense is going to stop Jalen Hurts and them boys and make Jalen Hurts have to throw the ball, and that's what's going to win the game.
Philly. Jacob Dunn says Rams versus 49ers. I'll get to that in a minute.
So I'm taking Jacksonville.
That's the Monday night game. Philly all the way for Eric Sean. Next up is New York Jets at Pittsburgh, but Zach Wilson's back. Do I give the Jets a puncher's chance? Maybe. Is TJ Watt back yet?
No. They're saying
no.
Probably 2 weeks.
I still think somehow Pittsburgh gets it done at home.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pittsburgh and Zach Wilson's careless with the ball, so I think he throws at least 2 interceptions.
Jacob Dunn is taking the Jets. Woo!
I wouldn't be
Burgess
surprised.
Says the Steelers. I won't be surprised either because I think they'll play better behind Zach Wilson than they did as a team because they seem to rally around him a little bit towards the end of the season last year. They do rally more around Zach Wilson.
If he cannot turn the ball over and just take the check down, then I'll take the Jets. But that's the problem with him. He tries to make the big play all the time.
Throwing bombs and banging moms. Jets, Steelers look pedestrian. Okay, next up, we got Buffalo Bills against the Baltimore Ravens. Oof. Yeah, one of the stingiest defense for the pass game. And Bills are number 2 run defense.
I'm going to take Buffalo because Baltimore's secondary's been struggling.
Right, but they just got Humphreys back. They just got Peters is back on full participation again. And I think the one safety's out, so that means they're still playing their backup safety.
I'm still taking Buffalo. I think they put up 400 yards in
the game. I'm going upset fever. I'm going to take Baltimore to win at home.
I wouldn't be shocked, but I think Buffalo will expose that secondary.
Okay, now we got Thomas Dowling. Thomas Dowling comes in and says, "Hey, Jeremy and Jordan, how's it going tonight?" Well, we're pretty good. We're about 2/3 of the way through the Pick Ems so far. Next one, it's kind of the toilet bowl of the country. You got LA Chargers who's struggling to score points and the Houston Texans that are struggling to score points. And they're in Houston. And that place does get loud and rowdy for their home team for some god-awful reason. Their fans still support them. I think I'm going to take Houston here because Herbert's not healthy yet.
So you're saying Houston's going to pull this off 2 years in a row and beat the Chargers?
Yep. I went against it last year because I thought it was a fluke. and Davis Mills came out and lit their butts up. I think it happens again because don't
I can't.
forget, Jason Jackson's hurt.
I can't pick Houston. I gotta pick the Chargers in this game.
Okay, I'm trying to gain some ground and do some upset picks.
Yeah, then you're gonna end up 3-13 again.
Arizona at Carolina. I don't trust Kyler Murray. I trust what's going on in Carolina. They're playing solid defense. Arizona hasn't been able to stop anybody in the second half. I'm taking Carolina.
I got Arizona.
Whew. New England at Green Bay.
Skip
My
over
heart,
that.
my heart wants to take the other one, but I gotta go with the proven commodity. That's all I gotta say. Denver at Las Vegas.
Hoyer the Destroyer.
Hoyer. You're hoping he can bring back some of that MSU magic.
You said Denver at Las Vegas.
Yeah, Denver at Las Vegas.
Ooh, that's another tough one. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say the Raiders. I'm gonna say the Raiders get their first win.
And I'm gonna go back to your game now because all we got left is something that might get moved to Monday night, and the Monday night game, and then my team's game. So, New England at Green Bay. Who you taking?
I wish I could say Hoyer the Destroyer, but I can't.
Green Bay.
I'm taking Green Bay, but I will say this: I think it's gonna be a low-scoring game. It's gonna be like 17-10.
What is it with J.J. Watt there with the Cardinals? Isn't it another? He hurt his arm again, the one he just had surgery on last year.
I don't know. That dude gets hurt. It seems like every year.
Yeah, the last few years he just seems he can't play but half the games.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Hoyer the Destroyer mess up Green Bay too. There, James Burgess, and he's taking Las Vegas Raiders to get on the win column. I'm taking Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. They're playing better defense than the Las Vegas Raiders.
They are playing better defense, but have you seen the Broncos' offense?
I have.
And that's pretty bad. If the Raiders can put up 20, 24 points in this game, I think that's enough to win.
That you're asking a big if.
Yeah, but the Raiders have done that though. Their offense ain't been their problem. It's the other side of the ball. They scored 23 against the Cardinals. Right. They scored 24, I think, last week. They scored 30, I think, the first game, or 8.
Now we're at the Sunday night game. Kansas City at Tampa Bay. Both teams have had their struggles offensively and defensively. I think I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Yep. Tom Brady's not losing 2 games in a row.
Right. And last but not least, out of the rest of the games, LA Rams versus San Francisco.
San Fran's had their number recently.
But San Fran's struggling mightily.
No, they are, but they also, those first 2 games with Trey Lance. I'm taking the Rams. I think the Rams are a little more consistent on offense.
Right. And even Jacob Dunn says, as a Niners fan, I'm picking Rams, sadly. And I picked the Rams, too. Now we're going to go.
The only thing I was going to say is that the 49ers have done well against the Rams, and that's the only... It's kind of like
only caveat to it. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like a trap game.
Seattle at Detroit. Who you got, Jacob?
Seattle at Detroit. Detroit.
I'm taking Detroit, too. Speaking of which, my dad's in the chat. Dad and I are going. I'm taking him to the game. He took me to my first game to see the Lions play a long time ago. So this will be his...
When was the last time you seen a Lions game on person?
The last time I saw a Lions game in person was the year before Patricia was fired versus Green Bay.
So it was like 2019?
Yes.
2019. So before COVID, pretty much.
And James Hurst says, I got the Lions. Waterbirds ain't got enough to cross 3 time zones. Well, that's pretty much the pick 'ems. I'm going to put out a score here. I think the Lions score 27 to... It's going to be closer than everybody likes. I think it's going to be 20 or 21 points for Seahawks.
Mhm.
That being said, we've ran through everything. All I have left is to talk about my sponsors. I already mentioned one, which was Mad Lab Custom Creations. They are on Facebook. Go there. They do memorabilia breaks to get signed mini helmets and full size helmets. He also does custom paint jobs. Some pretty cool stuff that Dan Leonard's got going on there. An A1 Tire and Auto Repair, 3 locations to serve you in the Tri-City area, one in Old Colquhoun, one in Bay City, and one in Saginaw on Genesee Street. I want to thank you for coming in, Jordan. You made it so I didn't have to do it all solo, and I had somebody to bounce some stuff off of me, and I bounced some stuff off you. It was a pleasure.
Yep. Now next week we can talk trash to each other because we play each other.
Oh, yeah. And James Burgess says 31-21. Jeremy, fun as always. Nice to hear from Boston and the MEP Nation. Thank you again. This has been Kneecap Biting with Smokin Jeremy B. And again, I'm going to say, try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts from within here. Have a great night. Thank you again, Jordan, for joining me.
Yep.
And this has been Kneecap Biting with Smokin Jeremy B.